Hey there, thanks for turning down my road. If this is your first time here, my name's Carl. My little brother and I both work for local farmers full time, but we both also farm together with our cattle herd and our hay operation. Everybody's involved, from the smallest to the biggest. If you don't have the joy of farming yourself, I'd love to help you experience it through this channel. Whatever your background, you found the right place. This is Dodge Brothers Farm and Ranch. Good morning. It's a beautiful day already. It's going to get really windy this afternoon. We're supposed to have 40, 45 mile an hour winds this afternoon. Anyway, I have got a little bit of chisel plowing to do. We've got a 70-acre field that just got manure put on it earlier this week. It's dried out enough we're going to be able to get on that today and tomorrow. And then there's some odds and ends to do. There's some end rows here and there that didn't get done last fall when it started to freeze up. And we've got a hay field that I'm just about to pull into right now that belongs to a neighbor of ours that we custom farm for. And he is putting his hay somewhere else. So this hay field's going to get torn out. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm going to go chisel plow a hay field. Not something you get to do every day. Oh, I know I'm supposed to be doing this, but it just feels so wrong. Well, there's always something. I made about 4 rounds up there on that hay ground, and I've busted 1, 2, 3 shovels already. So 4 shovels. Okay, chisel plowing, attempt number 2. No more hay in the hayfield. I just got a call from the John Deere guy, and he's going to be here in a few minutes to drop off a toy that I'm going to get to play with tomorrow. And he's going to have to show me how to use it a little bit so that I know what I'm doing. Suspense. I have a feeling that's going to get here before I get done. Oh, yep. Here it comes. It's really windy, and it's snowing. So that snowstorm lasted for maybe 10 minutes. Now look at it. This weather's ridiculous. These end rows were way too wet to work up last fall when things started to freeze up. It's doing a really good job though. I'm happy with it. Whoop. There's sure a lot of guys putting on anhydrous this week. There's a lot of that getting done. So I'm currently working on trying to level out some seriously deep ruts on the end rows of this particular field. We chisel plowed this field last fall, and they had to come put some manure on this corner of it this spring, and they made some really deep ruts. There's nothing they could do about it. It's not really their fault, really anybody's fault. This is why we don't like to put manure on in the spring. Here in Iowa, this far north, we can never get dried out early enough in the spring to do a good job putting manure on. We like to get it all on in the fall, but sometimes you just have to deal with these things that you don't really want to do. There's nothing worse than having a manure pit get full and nowhere to go with it. This is what we're dealing with. Oh. Well, finally, at the end of the day, it's nice to be in a real field, actually just chisel plowing on auto steer right now and not just be bumping through some end rows. Feels good. It's kind of relaxing. Look, Mom, no hands. Well, I have hands still, obviously, but I'm not using them. I'm gonna call it a night. It's about 8 o'clock. I'm gonna go home, grab a bite to eat, and tell my kids good night. If you've got a lot of dirt that needs moved, you're lucky if you know a guy with a good dozer that knows what he's doing. And you're really lucky if he brings his dad along and a second dozer to get it done twice as fast. We got one fella up there building that brand new waterway and another guy down here pushing out the old headland and fence row that used to divide these two fields. We're going to go out on the gator and we're going to map some fields. And it's one of those things that's far easier to show you and explain it at the same time rather than to stand here, ramble on explaining what I'm doing. Let's go. Now, to the untrained eye, it might look like I'm just out driving around in a gator for no reason, just trying to avoid being back at the farm to do actual work. But what I'm doing right now is extremely important. All right, so let me show you this cool toy that the John Deere guy brought me to put on the gator yesterday. So this is actually our GPS receiver and our screen, the display that goes in the planter tractor and the combine. But what he brought was the mounting hardware to mount these two pieces on the gator and the harness, which is the most important part of the equation. Goes down into this box that he brought all the stuff in, which is a pretty high-tech device here. But inside this box is the MTG. This is basically a cellular modem, and it gets a signal that does the corrections for the GPS. Now, to explain what I mean by corrections without getting into too deep of a conversation here, GPS stands for Global Positioning System, and this works off satellites, measuring the angle and the distance between us and the satellites that we're tracking. We're usually tracking between 15 and 20 satellites all at the same time. So this is how we're able to establish straight lines to know exactly where our machine is in relation to the lines that we want to be on, and ultimately to achieve auto guidance and automatic row shutoffs for the planter. When we go into a waterway, it stops planting right when that row gets to the waterway so that we're not wasting seed as we go through the waterway. And also when we turn around at the end of the field, when the planter enters the end rows that we've already planted, it shuts off each row as it enters the end row so it doesn't waste seed. And so we don't have double the population and a bunch of extra twisted rows going into the ends. Now, when I talk about corrections, what I mean is GPS is prone to satellite drift. Things don't always stay in the same place. I might draw a line along this fence row right here, and it might be perfectly where it needs to be. And then a day later, a week later, a month later, a year later, that line is not going to be in the same place unless we can relate the satellite data to something on the ground that never moves. And mobile RTK uses cell towers and base stations that are located all over the place and compares their fixed location to the drifting location of the satellites, and then uses that correction to tell my modem wirelessly, cellularly, how far things have drifted north, south, east, or west, and make the ultimate corrections so that my line is always in the exact same spot. Last year we switched from Digifarm to John Deere Mobile RTK. We ended up with bare spots along the southeast sides of our waterways that had no corn growing in them for 2 to 3 feet, and then we had corn growing in the north sides of our waterway for a couple of feet. So I've been told that when we re-record our boundaries with the John Deere Mobile RTK, nothing will drift anymore, and the discrepancy was just due to switching providers, and that can happen. Anyway, I'm hopeful that that's true. So what I'm doing this year is I'm going around and redrawing all of our boundaries, the exterior boundaries around the outside of the field and the interior boundaries blocking out the waterways so that the planter won't plant through them. And hopefully we'll never have to do this again. Come on, Carl, you got to get some work done. Why are you just sitting around explaining all this stuff to us? Couldn't you explain while you work? Well, I could, but I have a little problem with the gator, and I'm waiting for somebody to come help me with that problem. Oh good, here comes my gator mechanic right now. You think you got the know-how to fix this mechanical problem?
Yeah, I think it's just as simple as turning a spout and opening a lid.
This guy definitely looks like he's worked on a gator before. I think it'll be fixed when he's done with it. Let's see if this complicated repair is going to get the job done. Ooh. What do I owe you?
Free of charge.
Wow. Man, it keeps going from really sunny to really cloudy. It almost looks like it's going to rain now. Save. Everything that's inside the yellow areas will not get planted. Beautiful, Clark. Well, it's starting to get a little dark outside. I've got 2 more fields to do, and one of them has some of the neighbors' cows in it right now, and I got to take a wire down to get through to finish the border, and I don't really want to do that when it's getting dark. I don't want to scare the cows with the gator and the lights. It's kind of supposed to be rainy and cold over the weekend and just plain cold next week. It's not going to dry out very fast or very good. But that's pretty much going to do it for this chisel plowing, bulldozing, and mapping video. I really appreciate you watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that and hit the little bell next to the subscribe button so that you get a notification every time I drop out a new video. And if you have any questions about anything, don't hesitate to leave me a comment in the comment section. I'll do my best to respond as quickly as I can. Sometimes it takes me a few days, but I try my best to respond to everybody. As always, thanks for riding along. We'll see you next time.